Welcome to Redtastic. Story 1. I, 29 female, recently found myself in a tense situation with my family. This requires some context. Back when it was time for me to go to college, I got accepted into a grade school that was out of state, but had literally been my dream college for as long as I can remember. I got a partial merit scholarship as well. However, my parents informed me that they couldn't cover the remaining tuition. I knew they had the ability to pay for this, but they point blank told me they couldn't. So I had to rethink my plans. Instead of burdening myself with excessive loans, I made the decision to attend my safety college, which had also offered me a scholarship. Although it wasn't my first choice, it was an opportunity to graduate with minimal debt. To make ends meet, I had to work part-time while studying. It was disappointing not being able to attend my dream college, but I understood that finances were tight. I worked hard, managed my finances responsibly, and eventually landed a nice job and everything. A year or two later, after I started attending college, I got to know my brother had gotten into the same college I had always considered my dream school but couldn't go to. He had informed me over summer break, and I of course had to guide him and tell him that he would be unable to go, and that it was twice as expensive for him since he didn't get a scholarship. However, I found out that my parents were paying for him and he was taking on significant loans with their help to cover the difference. It was shocking that my parents suddenly had the determination and funds to help their child do something they really wanted to, whereas this was entirely lacking when I was in the same situation. I brought this up with them, but they gave me the same old Asian parent spiel of my brother being their only son, and them trying to help him succeed in life, whereas I, and I quote, could always get married. I've heard it before and wasn't surprised one bit that they would be breaking their backs for the man, child instead of me. Fast forward to the present day when my parents did something that upset me a lot. I currently own my own business and I'm fairly successful, also single. Much to my parents' dismay since that's the only thing that matters to them apparently. Anyways, my brother has graduated as well. He's now working, and with his wedding on the horizon, my parents requested me home for a serious discussion. I wondered what it was, but I had a suspicion that it would be some sort of guilt trip regarding my unconventional life or lack of any marriage plans. I was wrong. To my surprise, they handed me a sheet of paper listing all my brother's wedding expenses and his outstanding debts combined. The total amount was staggering. What was even more surprising came next. My parents explained that they wanted to even the ground and asked me to pay off everything on said list, except an amount equal to my own college debt. Their rationale was that since I am doing so well in my life, I wouldn't have a problem helping, and it would help my brother start his married life without the weight of student loans or any further debts, and we would be on the same level. Which we are not. He has had a better college, my parents' support, and everything else you could imagine which I didn't get. And that it would cancel out the unfair head start I had in life due to not being weighed down by loans. Naturally, I was taken aback by this proposition. I asked why I was even being asked to do this in the first place. They said that since I graduated with limited debts and had a scholarship, it was unfair that my brother didn't get the same deal, and therefore I should shoulder some of the responsibility for the family, which sounded distorted to me. He, with my parents' help, chose to do all of this, whereas I worked to get where I was on my own. I had worked hard to secure scholarships and make smart choices regarding my education, while my brother had made different decisions. The whole thing felt ridiculous and unreasonable to me. It was his responsibility to handle his own debts, just like it is mine for my finances. Anyways, in their usual fashion, they started guilt-tripping me. I couldn't contain my frustration and refused their request. I told them that it was their responsibility to handle their own financial matters and that I wouldn't be paying off my brother's debt. I may have used some choice words in the heat of the argument, which further escalated tensions. Now, my parents and brother are accusing me of being cruel and selfish. They claim that I have the means to help my brother and that I'm refusing out of spite. However, I've already done my part by working hard to secure my own financial stability. Am I the a-hole? Update. Thank you for all your insight. It has given me a lot to consider and reflect upon. I fully believe that they're being unreasonable by expecting me to solve their financial problems. And I won't be risking my future to help out people who didn't have my back before, nor had the foresight to make their own informed, better decisions. I'm sure my brother can use that expensive degree and put it to good use and help himself. I, on the other hand, will be willing to help them with the wedding in any way that doesn't involve money. You're not the a-hole, OP. Your parents and your brother are a-holes. You were not given funds to go to your dream school even though you had a scholarship, simply because you're a woman and you would get married eventually. But they were more than willing to fund your brother who had no scholarship simply because he's a guy. Your parents' beliefs are stupid and ridiculous. The fact that they want you, a woman, to now pay off your brother's loans is even more ridiculous. Shouldn't that be a man's job? Their double standards is annoying. Do not pay a dime for your brother. You worked hard to get to where you are. He should go do that too with his expensive degree. Story 2. I recently banned my mother-in-law from coming to our house and being part of my children's lives. It's a bit of a complicated story, but I'll try and explain it as best as I can. Her son and I have been together for almost 5 years. We have a 3-year-old together, and I'm currently pregnant with baby number 3. And due to give birth late February or early March, I miscarried baby number 1 in 2015 because of stress caused by my partner's sister. Everyone hates her because of her attitude, so I don't have a good relationship with her because of that. Last October, my mother-in-law came to visit. My doctor tells me I'm not allowed to move around much because I already have a history of miscarriage and even bled a couple of times during this pregnancy, so to be safe, absolutely no getting out of bed unless it's to pee or go to hospital. Mother-in-law started going on about how I should be doing the housework and taking care of our kid, not her son, because he has asthma. It should also be said that I'm the breadwinner. I was working 2 jobs. My partner works freelance, so he does the housework while I make money. And he has told her to stop with the remarks, but she kept at it until the next day. She stayed the night. She said that she would just take her son home with her if I couldn't take care of him, etc. I snapped because I was already bleeding again as she was stressing me out. And I screamed at her to leave my house. She did leave, but a few days later, she got my blood boiling again when she sent a text to my partner about us selling the house, just so my partner can get his code checked out. The reason I was furious was because A, my partner has health insurance paid for by my company, so his doctor's appointments are all paid for, and B, the house is mine. I bought it with my money, and my partner contributed nothing towards it, because he didn't have a job at the time. So why would she suggest selling my house over a flu? I don't even know. The bleeding she caused that enraged my 3rd baby and the fact that she disrespected me in my own home and continues to do so is the reason why I cut off ties with her and cut off my children's ties with her as well. By extension though, it means that our boyfriends, yes plural, she has 2 living with her in one house, aren't allowed to see my kids as well, although I personally don't see anything wrong with it, because those 2 men aren't related to my children at all. I have no problem with my partner maintaining his relationship with his mother. He also does agree with me that his mother was out of line. But sometimes we argue and he seems to resent it when I get mad that his mother asks for updates about me and the children, when I never even received an apology from her, and mother-in-law is basically acting like nothing even happened. Am I the a-hole in this situation? You're not the a-hole, OP. For health reasons, your mother-in-law can't be around you right now. If she can't respect that you need to be not stressed in your pregnancy, then she needs to go. After you've delivered and can tolerate her a bit better, then let her back in your life, if that's what you want and your husband wants. And if it's not, completely cut her out of your life. You don't have to put up with anyone's toxicity. Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. Your house, your rules. It's that simple. You can ask her son for updates and he can give them to her. You banned her from your house. You didn't ban her from texting her son, nor should you. You need to make it clear now that the ban includes the location you are giving birth at, hospital, etc., and that your son can text her, but she's not welcome to visit. Not the a-hole. Your mother-in-law is. Well, words fail me. You won't be able to stop her from asking for updates, so getting mad over it is futile. Not to mention stressful. What's more important, I think, is the response your husband gives her. If you don't want him giving her details, then he should respect that and adopt their fine response. At least for the short term. After you've delivered, you can kick your wheels straight, if that's even possible, and set whatever boundaries you and your husband agree to. Not the a-hole. This literally happened to my sister, who put up with it for 1 to 2 years. I was mad at my brother-in-law for not stepping up, but my sister eventually did. She lashed out, banned her from visiting whilst she's around. I think things are slightly better, but her mother-in-law always looked down on my sister. Always thought her son was too good, blah blah blah. Even her apology did not seem sincere, but what can you do? I would say you need to let them know you can't be bullied into doing things. Story 3. Son 17 has his driver's license, and last year we had an agreement where if he got his license, I would match whatever he saved up over the year to buy him a car at the start of summer. So far, he has about £4,800. However, though, we've been generally well off. In the past year, my finances have been strained. My brother-in-law and his wife were in an accident last December, which left my sister-in-law in a wheelchair, and my brother-in-law largely unable to work. He worked in IT, but since the crash, he's unable to sit and concentrate for longer than a short period. My wife and I have stepped in where we can. For example, my nieces go to a public school, so we're paying those fees. And we help with their mortgage too. My brother-in-law's savings are going towards physical and mental therapy. The NHS, while great, doesn't offer sessions as often as ideally needed, so they've had to go down the private route. All this meant that me and my wife sat my son down and explained that we couldn't be able to match his savings at this point, but would do him right in a few years when everything has stabilized. He didn't take this well and started debating with us. In the end, I told him that while he was justified in feeling annoyed, at the end of the day, making sure his uncle and aunt had a roof over their head, and that his cousin could have an education was far more important than if he had a slightly nicer car. Besides, we live in Greater London, so the public transport is already very good. Now for some comments. No a-holes here. An emergency came up, he has all right to be mad, but you can't change what happened. As long as eventually you do what you promised when things are better, then I feel that isn't that big of a deal. Just please do as you said when you're stable and matches earnings. No a-holes here. Yes, you shouldn't make promises you can't keep, but sometimes life throws you curveballs and you have to adapt, and sometimes you have to make tough decisions that will hurt other people. And that's the lessons for your teenage son. I fully understand that he's upset and his feelings are valid, but you're still not the a-hole. I would say no a-holes here. You're not wrong for helping your in-laws, but your son also isn't wrong for expecting you to honor your promise to him. Did you and your wife talk to your son about this before you started making financial contributions to your in-laws? Telling him about it upfront and letting him know what the impact would be would have been less hard on him than if you had only mentioned it retroactively, even though you were going to help them no matter what. He should get to have a say in the matter. In addition, you really should do something to make it up to him. After all, he did nothing wrong and you did break your word to him. If you can't give him the matching funds you promised until a few years down the line, you should seriously consider promising to double match when the time comes.